All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the last office hours of May. It's hard to believe that June's already going to be starting tomorrow. So hopefully golf season's in full swing for most of you. Weather's warming up. It's definitely really, really warm here in Florida, like 95, 96 today. So I'm just going to assume y'all can hear me. So if you can't hear me, go ahead and let me know. And we'll try and get any sound problem figured out. Just want to go over a few quick ground rules. So number one, I am coming at you live from my home. Um, I do have other people that live here. There could be someone coming to the door. I have a dog, might bark or something like that. So bear with me if anything like that happens. Um, if I have to leave for a second, I'll be right back as soon as I can. And then also want to mention that I'm only going to be answering questions that are being asked during the office hours. So if I go, let me go ahead and tell you who I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with Dirk V. Here, I'll start with his first question, which is technically from 23 minutes ago, but I'll start with those first few. So if you posted a question before Dirk V, which is talking about wedge shots, if you posted a question before that and you were still on the office hours, go ahead and just copy and paste your question and post it in there again. And the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to make sure that I'm answering questions for people that are here and ready to hear them live. I don't want to answer questions for people that posted them, overnight or something like that, and then they may not even be here to see them get answered. If I did that, then I would have to answer 20 questions before I even got to the people that were posting questions that were here. So want to reward the people that were here. If you want to post a question, you can't stick around for the office hours. I understand, everybody's got lives and doesn't have time to sit here and watch me for an hour talk. That's completely fine. Just make sure you post your question during the office hours, and then you can go watch the archived office hour later on and see your question answered at that time. If you go to the office hours tab, then go to office hours highlights, you'll be able to watch all the office hours that are archived. I try to get them in there within a half hour after I complete them. So today it should be in there around before 10:30 Eastern time today. Last thing I wanted to mention is if you ask me a question about something that can be easily answered by a course on the website or a specific video on the website, I'm going to steer you in that direction. It's not because I don't want to answer your question. It's because I want to answer as many questions as possible. And if you ask, for example, a question like that would be, how do I fix my slice? Well, the answer to that question would be go to the never slice again section and work through the drills. I'm going to do that. That takes me 10 seconds as opposed to spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes going through all of the things that are going to help you fix your slice. So it's also going to be better for you to go to the videos because you're going to be able to see Clay demonstrating, to be on the flight scope, showing you stuff, showing you that it's going to be a lot easier to understand. If I was out on the golf course, it might be a little bit easier. I wish we could do these out on the golf course, but as you know, it's hard to get internet access to do live streaming out there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. We'll start with Dirk V's question. Looks to be on wedges. All right. So Dirk V says, hi Q, on your wedge shots, say 30, 60, 80. Do you still need to close the club face as the move explained, or is this more upright swing that you do not need to do this at all? I know that all of this is not a full swing, but I'm sure that you must still clear your hips on all of them. Yes, exactly. You definitely want to. The move applies to pretty much everything. The move is essentially two things. It's a combination of two things. So one, it's the shallowing of the club. So what that means is the club pointing outside of the golf ball. Are you coming down like this in the swing, or are you coming down like that? So that's what the shallowing part is. Then the other part is the squaring of the face early, and that's the turning of the handle down. What that does is that allows you to square the face and get forward shaft length. So if I were to go into impact, with my wrist angles the same and have the shaft leaning forward, well, that club face is going to be wide open. So I got to turn that handle down to square it up. So that's what that turning of the handle down does. You want to do that with all of the shots that you want some sort of forward shaft lean. That's pretty much everything, right? Chip shots, it kind of happens automatically because it's not a dynamic shot, right? It's a shorter shot, so you can kind of just go back and through. But pitches, I mean, you don't want to come down steep on a pitch. You want to come down nice and shallow on a pitch shot, and you want to be square in that club face earlier so that you can get forward shaft lean and compression on your pitch shots as well. And that's also going to make it a lot more stable. The club's going to get through the turf a lot better. So yeah, absolutely. You want forward shaft lean on pretty much all of your shots. There's an exception. Okay. So if you are hitting a bunker shot, if you're hitting a bunker shot, that's about the only time that it's okay to flip the club. So, and the reason for that is to expose the bounce a little bit more. So when you're coming through and you're flipping the club, you have that face wide open. That's exposing the bounce more. See, when I have this face open and I'm flipping, if I had the face open, I went like that. See how the bounce isn't there? This allows the club to kind of glide through the turf a little bit better. So that's about the other time. And maybe if you're hitting a flop shot, which is basically, if you're hitting a flop shot that's in some really heavy grass and you're basically trying to chunk it out like a bunker shot, that would be the other area where you'd want to. Now with pitch shots, you may, if you're a good player, you may kind of play a higher and lower pitch shots. And if that's the case, you'll get better at releasing the club a little bit earlier to add a little bit of loft to it to get the ball to go a little bit higher. And you'll get better at de-lofting it some more. That's turning the handle down even more to get more forward shaft lean and drive it in lower. So that's something, if you're a better player that you can practice. But in general, yes, you want to be turning that handle down just like you do in the move so you can get forward shaft lean and more stable impact, more compressed. You're going to get more spin when you're doing that as well. So I highly recommend that. Dirk has a follow-up question here. He says, on the backswing, after you shallow out the club face, you want to get a feeling to take the arrow out. Is this to promote your move to the lead leg so you can start to open your hips? Is there another reason for that? So what the arrow feeling is generating lag. So if I have an arrow right here and I'm pulling that out, see how I'm sharpening that angle between my arm and the club. That's what that feeling is. It's to generate lag in the downswing. That's really all that's for. It really doesn't have anything to do with weight shift or opening up your hips or anything like that. That feeling of pulling that arrow out, that's all about generating lag in the downswing. And that's what we talk about in the top speed lag section. Just a quick note to get to the courses, just click on the home icon at the top of the screen. And if you scroll down, you'll see the list of all the courses there. Makes it very, very easy to navigate to those. And you can see your progress on them as you're looking through that as well. Bob L says, in the downswing, it looks like my arms get stuck with my right elbow to my side. Then, as my torso moves left and rotates, the counter action is the club to cast out. One tip I've seen to fix this is to separate the left shoulder from the chin at the beginning of the downswing. This gets the arms out in front earlier. What do you think? And where should the right shoulder be at impact? So your right shoulder at impact is typically going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be kind of in this area like that. So if you look at it from this angle, it's usually going to be kind of like that, basically. As far as getting stuck is concerned, really, your arm should be coming into your side. That should be happening. You don't want it out there. If you have it out there, you're going to tend to cast the club because your wrist can't bend back any further, right? It can only bend back so much. Typically, most people, around 60, 70 degrees, they can put their wrist in extension there. So if your arm is out like this, you can't bend this wrist back far enough to not cast the club. So you got to get that elbow kind of coming into the body. You're going to see every tour player, that elbow is coming into the body. So now look at my right wrist. I can have my right wrist bent back, and that can allow me to get forward shaft lean and release that club out in front. If I'm out here like this, I can't bend my wrist back far enough. I'm going to tend to cast the club through. So that's got to come into the side if you're looking from this angle. The other thing is from this angle, the elbow, you want that elbow coming in. If you look, I don't really have a shirt seam on here. I'm not sure if you can see that. But basically on the mid seam of my shirt, that's where you want that elbow to be coming in, either ahead of that or pretty much on that. If you see that elbow kind of getting behind you, you're going to tend to scoop the club because you're not getting through enough. So I would just try to feel like, I would just do some practice swings where you're going up the top, and I just feel that elbow coming in. A good feeling to have is that elbow is coming in toward your belt buckle. That's a good feeling to have. It's also a good feeling to have that it's going out toward the golf ball. The problem with it going toward the belt buckle sometimes is people try to get them to meet and they don't rotate. So as long as you're rotating through and you're getting that elbow in toward the belt buckle, that's going to help. That's going to help you to shallow out the club. It's going to help you to keep everything in front of you so you can rotate and get some solid contact at impact. So let everything disconnect as you go up to the top so you can get a free range of motion going up to the top, and then let that elbow come back into your side and rotate open so that you can get forward shaft lean and release that club out in front. So there's some great drills on the website. Search Stuck on the website. There's a great drill where Clay talks about getting this elbow to come into the side in the downswing. It might be a better feeling, like I said, to feel like it's going toward the golf ball, because as long as you're doing that, you're going to be rotating as well, rather than the feeling of the belt buckle. Because like I said, the belt buckle kind of makes you not rotate your hips sometimes because you're just trying to get your elbow and your belt buckle to meet. So I'd definitely be thinking about that. The best way to search anything on the website, the search engine works actually very, very well. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's a box on about any page on the website. There's a little search box there. If you search any keyword, something you're looking for, like for instance, for you, Bob, you're thinking, I'm getting stuck. Just search the word stuck. There's going to be probably 3 or 4 videos for good drills for getting stuck. The one I'm thinking of is where we're bringing that elbow. You're just going up the top, pausing at the top, coming down, and halfway down, you're pausing, and that elbow is in front, right? You've rotated, and that elbow is in front of that mid-seam of your shirt, and then you swing all the way through into a full finish. Do a bunch of those, getting a good feeling for that, and then once you do that, then you can start doing some slow fluid swings, getting the hang of it, speed it up, then add the golf ball and try to do it with the golf ball there. So that's what I'd recommend. Search a keyword term. It'll help you find all kinds of things if you're struggling with something on the website. And also the main things, the most numerous things like slice, hook, topping, chunking. We usually have a full course for that. And there's full courses for all of those that I mentioned. So like I said, the courses, if you go to the home screen, click the house icon, go to the home screen, there's going to be all kinds of courses for all the most popular things that are happening in the swing. So that's what I'd recommend. Bradley G says, I understand I should try to bow my lead hand at impact. What is the best drill to accomplish that? That's going to be the move section. There's actually 2 great drills in there. There's 1.2 to how to compress the heck out of the ball, I think the video is called. And basically what you're doing in that video is you are turning that handle down. So you're coming down into impact. You're pausing when the club is parallel to the ground. It's about right here. And you're turning that handle down just like that. See what I'm doing with my wrist? And then from there, you're going into impact and then releasing out in front. Doing a bunch of those. That's one of the great drills. Another one is the tennis racket drill. And basically with that one, you're holding a tennis racket. If you don't have a tennis racket, no big deal. But you can get the visual here. And again, I have a tennis racket. I need to get it in here. But that tennis racket, you're getting that tennis racket pointing to the sky, and then you're pointing that tennis racket toward the camera. That's that shallowing and squaring of the face early. That's another great one. That's probably the most popular one for the move on the website. The tennis racket just really gives you a great visual of what's going on there. So you start out with the tennis racket, pointed. If this is the face of the tennis racket, it's pointed at the target. You go up to the top, and you're getting that tennis racket to point up to the sky, and then you get it to point toward the camera a little bit, and that's shallowing it out. And then from there, you can go boom right into impact before shaft length. So that I would highly recommend that one. That's probably the best drill on the website for shallowing out the club and bowing of the lead wrist, the move, doing all that. That's the one I highly recommend for sure. Let me get a drink real quick. All right. So Richard F says, what are your thoughts on impact ball or other forearm training aids? So I'm not familiar with impact ball. I'm not sure if you mean impact snap. I think the impact snap is good. Anything that can give you some kind of feedback, as you're swinging the club, as long as you're kind of doing it, as long as it's not putting you in the position. So essentially with that impact snap, you'll do some where it puts you in the position. You get a feeling for what that is, but you just don't want to do that and then understand where the position is and then grab the club because you haven't learned how to actually swing and get in that position. So once you understand, okay, I think the impact snap is good because it puts that ball on your forearm and tells you this is where your hands are. And I think for a lot of people, they realize, wow, my hands are supposed to be in that position. I didn't know that. So a lot of times that puts a light bulb on for a lot of people. So I highly recommend it in that regard for sure. But just because you can feel what that position is, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to grab a club and get in that position right away. It's rare if that happens. So what you have to do is you have to train yourself to get into that position. So I would definitely be doing, start out slow and do some swings where you're getting in that position. You're doing that, and then I would do some full speed swings where you're feeling that club that ball hitting your arm. And then at that point, once you get a hang of that and you're starting to understand it a lot more and you're training your body to do that, then at that point, that's where I'd add the club and I'd try to replicate that same motion as you're coming through. Just doing practice swings with the club. Take a look on camera. Really, the best training aid that you can buy, and what most people already have, and some people don't even know it, is a camera. Most of the time, most of you have a phone, and it's got a good camera on it. Pretty much any smartphone these days has a pretty good camera on it, especially iPhones. Most of Android phones have good slow motion cameras on them, 240, 120 frames per second cameras that you can see you can even get pretty close to impact position with those cameras. So I'd be looking at your swing, on those and making sure that you're hitting those. Basically, you want to make sure that you're shallowing out the club. So in the downswing, if you look at about halfway down the downswing, lead arm parallel to the ground, where is that club pointing? Is it pointing at the golf ball or a little outside the golf ball? If that is the case, then you're in good shape. If it's inside the golf ball, you're coming down steep, and it's going to be really, really difficult to get forward shaft lean from that position because you're going to tend to want to stand up out of it to get that club to come back on plane. And when you stand up, you flip. So you'll definitely want to look on camera and make sure that you're getting those, getting those positions, and just try to exaggerate it as much as you can on your practice swings. And then when you add the golf ball, it just makes things a lot easier. So yeah, I do recommend the training aids, but don't expect them to absolutely be, that's all they are, is that it's an aid to help you, train the movement. It's not something that's going to you're going to pick it up and then it's going to work. You're going to all of a sudden start getting forward shaft lean. It's something that's going to aid you in the understanding of what you need to do. You still need to do stuff like the move and things like that to get forward shaft lean. So there are videos on the website for great drills using the impact snap. In fact, you can just search impact snap and you can find those videos, or you can go to the home page, and on the right-hand side of the screen, under Member Quick Links, you'll see the promo code. I think it's still on there. Let me check here real quick. We change the website sometimes, and I'm not aware of it all the time. So let me check that homepage real quick and make sure that that's still there. Because I remember there used to be a link in the Member Quick Links for the Impact Snap drills that Clay has. All right. Yep. So if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, about halfway down in Member Quick Links, you can see there's a coupon code. First of all, see Ballard, if you use that coupon code when you go to the Impact Snap website, you can get 10% off of your order, which is nice. It's definitely better than nothing for sure. And then if you look there, it says, training aid and use in these videos. So if you click on these videos, that link, it'll show all the videos that Clay has used that Impact Snap in. And you kind of see how it works and things like that before you buy it as well. So highly recommend that. Check it out and see if it's the right fit for you. All right, so let's moving on to the next one here. David W. says, I'm beginning to have pain in my left knee, and I'm sure it is caused by my swing. I live in the Villages and play and practice every day. So first of all, if you're having pain in your left knee, any kind of issue like that, you're going to want to go see a doctor. I can't give you any kind of medical advice or anything like that, but I will say the reason why a lot of people have knee pain in the golf swing, let me get back to my screen here, is let me go ahead and what I'd recommend doing is opening up that lead foot. So a lot of people I see, they have their feet squared up like this, and then when they're turning through, they keep this foot completely planted in the ground. And they're trying to get into a full finish, but they can't because they're not giving them, they don't have that full range of motion. And they're putting a lot of torque on this knee right here. They're twisting on that knee, and it can cause, I imagine it can cause some pain. I don't really get it in my knee. I get it more in my ankle. But I can imagine how, maybe some people get it in their knee instead or in both. But what I have to do, because I do not have good internal rotation on either of my legs, I can't really internally rotate very well. So what I have to do, I have to angle my feet out like this at address so that I can have a full range of movement. And then when I come through my full finish, I'm even going like that with my ankle. So I would try rotating that open and seeing if that helps. I will say, you said you play golf every single day. Our bodies aren't meant to swing a golf club, right? So you play about any repetitive sport, injuries are just a part of it. Any tour player will tell you they've had their fair share of injuries, bad back, usually back and wrists are usually the biggest issues in golf. If we play a lot of golf, you're going to have some back issues, most likely, and you're most likely going to have some wrist issues as well. It's just the repetitive nature of the game. Like I said, if you feel any pain at all, you got to go see a doctor. You wouldn't, I look at it this way, right? If you are, if you're looking for a golf lesson, right, you would go to a golf instructor, right? You wouldn't go to a doctor. Well, if you have pain, you wouldn't go to a golf instructor. You would go to a doctor. You don't want a golf instructor helping you with your knee pain. You want a doctor for that. So, I'd recommend going to see a doctor for sure. But I will tell you that opening up that left knee, it might help you a little bit with that. So, David W., can you give me a drill to stop using the left knee? So there's not really a drill for it, but I would just say opening up that lead leg to see if that helped a little bit. Maybe you have a doctor, a lot of doctors play golf. So, if you have a doctor that plays golf, it would be a question for him to say, hey, I play a lot of golf and I'm having some knee pain. I'm coming in. This is how I kind of swing. It's like, would that be hurting my knee? Do you know something that can help me to not hurt my knee? If a doctor doesn't play golf, he'd probably say play less golf. But if a doctor does play golf, he might kind of tell you, well, open up your leg a little bit or something like that. Physical therapist would be another good one. TPI, if certified people. If you're not familiar with what TPI is, everybody on all the instructors on our team here are TPI certified level 1 and also level 2 power. But basically what TPI is Titleist, stands for Titleist Performance Institute, and they are basically the leaders in how the body moves in the golf swing. And they train 3 different types of people. They train golf instructors, they train medical professionals, and they train fitness professionals. So as a golf professional, I can look at I can give you a physical screening and basically say, you have an issue with your shoulder, or you have an issue with the internal, like that's how I know I have internal rotation problems, because I was tested by a colleague and found out that I can't internally rotate as much. I have a limitation there. So, that basically tells me the kind of the modifications I need to make in my swing and what I'm physically capable of and not capable of. Now I can't tell you this is what you need to do to fix those things. I can tell you, hey, you have an issue with that. You need to either understand that you have an issue and you're going to be physically limited in that area, or go to a doctor, chiropractor, medical professional to get that worked on, or a fitness professional that may give you some fitness things that you can do to help you with that. So like I said, you wouldn't go to a golf professional for fitness tips, just like you wouldn't go to a fitness professional for golf tips. So it's kind of all separated. You want experts in different fields. I'm not an expert in fitness, so you don't want me giving you fitness. I'm not an expert in medical either, so you don't want me giving you medical advice. I'm an expert in golf instruction, so I can give you, basically advice as far as that is concerned. So if you want to look for someone who's a TPI certified instructor, you can actually go to their website and you can search people in your zip code. If you go to mytpi.com, and I think in the upper right-hand corner, let me actually go to that website. So that I wish I could do a screen share with you guys so I can kind of show you this stuff. So mytpi.com, if you go there and if you go to the top of the page there, it says find an expert. If you go there, you can actually search your zip code and then say what you're looking for, whether it's a golf professional, a fitness professional, or a medical professional. If you're having knee pain, it might be good to look at a medical professional probably first, I would imagine, if there's pain there. But a fitness professional might be able to kind of help you with that as well. Some of them are both. So there's some people out there that are both medical and fitness and golf, and things like that. But for the most part, you're either, one and not the others. But that's how you can find somebody that that understands kind of how the swing works a little bit and the body parts that you're using and the limitations that can happen and things like that. So I'd be definitely looking at that. All right. So Matthew Yu says, I am in a off the toe funk and losing lots of distance. Any suggestions to help with this? So every single office hours, I get some kind of question. Hey, I'm hitting it off the toe. I'm hitting it off the heel. Usually it is toe. And that makes sense because I think a lot of people are over the top swingers. But the first thing that I would do is, number one, let's try to intentionally strike the ball off the heel. That's the easiest way to fix toe strikes, is to intentionally strike the toe off the heel, or strike the ball off the heel. So line up as you normally would. All right. So, because this is just adjusting your feeling to get the desired result. That's a lot of what golf is. So if you line up on the center of the face and the reality is that you hit it out here, line it up on the center of the face and then try to hit it off the heel. And what that will likely do is it'll likely move the strike closer to the center. If you still strike it off the toe, you may want to feel like you're even hitting it off the hosel or missing it completely to the outside. Exaggerate it as much as you need to move that strike closer to the center. Now, if you actually strike the ball off the heel or shank it, then ease off of that feeling a little bit. Now, if you go and you got to keep doing that. You can't just do it one time and then, oh, I'm fixed. You have to keep doing that until you actually start striking it on the heel pretty much every single time. And then at that point, you may be calibrated and you may be ready to start trying to strike the ball on the center again. So it's all about adjusting your feel to get the desired result that you want. Some things that cause toe strikes. Number one is really an over-the-top swing. So when you are swinging over the top, right? This is an over-the-top swing. You're going out to in. So the sweet spot of your club is moving that way, right? So it's the toe is kind of moving toward the golf ball. So your timing has to be really, really good in order to get that strike on the center of the face. But a lot of times it's going to be more toward the toe because the club is moving in that direction. The toe, the center of the face is moving away from the golf ball, and the toe is moving more toward the golf ball. Just like an in-to-out swing, if you swing really, really in-to-out, that can cause a lot of heel strikes, and because the heel and the hosel are moving toward the golf ball. So I'd be looking at your swing. Look at your swing from down the line and see if you're swinging over the top. And if you're swinging over the top, you're going to want to go to our Never Slice Again section, because that section is all about getting this club to work from the inside. So you can go to our Never Slice Again course. You can also go to the vault section on slicing. If you want to go to the vault categories, the easiest way to do that is to go to the instruction tab. Let that tab, it's going to expand a menu, and then you'll see about halfway down, you'll see the vault categories there. And if you click on that, you can go to the one that's on slicing. And there's also some great videos in there to help you to get rid of that over the top. So that's the number one thing that I see that causes the toe strikes. But again, adjusting your feel to get the desired result, that's actually going to be the easiest thing for you to do, because it's just a very intuitive thing to do. Whereas you're trying to change the way that you swing the club when you're trying to swing more, get rid of that over the top. So both are going to be good for you, I think, but you'll need to look at your swing on camera to make sure that you're doing that. All right, let me get a drink here real quick. All right, Charles M says, I'm having trouble closing the face angle too much. Any drills to help open the face more on impact? So one is more forward shaft lean, right? So if if you're turning that handle down, if you're working on the move, I'm not sure exactly what you're working on, but if you're working on the move and you're flipping the club, so you're turning the handle down, but you're still flipping the club, well, that face is shut. Let me show you here. So you're coming into impact, you're working on the move, you're not necessarily shallowing out the club, you're still flipping, but you're coming in and you're turning that handle down, but you're still flipping. Well, if that's the case, you're going to come into impact, that club face is going to be slammed shut, right? And you're going to end up hitting the ball to the left. So that would be, if that is the case, you need to get, because that forward shaft lean, that's what squares up the face when you're turning that handle down, whereas turning that handle down is what squares the face when you're getting forward shaft lean. It works both ways there. So that's what I'd be looking at there. The other thing is that, let's say you aren't flipping, you're getting good forward shaft lean, you're getting a good release of the club through impact, and you're just turning down the handle too much. Well, if that's the case, just ease off it a little bit. So you may want to feel like as you're coming through that you're feeling like you're holding off the face a little bit more to leave that face open a little bit. Yeah, as you're coming through there, feel like your hands aren't rolling over as much to leave that face open. Try to hit some balls that start way to the right and then ease off of that a little bit. Again, this is just like what I talked about with the toe strikes. You're adjusting your feeling to get the desired result that you want. If you're hitting a lot of shots that are starting to the left, what's the best way to fix that? Try to hit some shots that are starting out to the right. Try to feel like you're not rolling the hands over as much. Try to feel like you're not turning down the handle as much, because you can overdo everything. You can shallow out the club too much. You can do all these things too much. It's all about finding the happy medium, which gives you the desired result that you want. So if you're coming in, even if you're getting, if I'm right here, I'm turning the handle down. I've Shallowed out the club, I got forward shaft lean, but if I turn the handle down even more, way too much, I slam that face shut. So you may just be overdoing it as you're coming through there. So you can just ease off of that a little bit. Feel like you're holding the face off as you're coming through to get that face to open up. So it's hard for me to say exactly what's happening. Now, it could be also another thing that happens a lot is somebody's coming down and they're early extending. They're really standing up out of their posture and they're coming down steep, and then they early extend to get that club to come down and plane. Well, usually when that happens, the face is kind of opening up, and then when you get the impact, let me angle this down. The face is kind of opening up, and then when you get the impact, you do that, and that really slams that face shut. And if that's the case, then you're going to want to work on shallowing out the club, get that club face square earlier, and turning into the ball so that that face doesn't go through impact and it doesn't become all timing based. So like I said, it's hard for me to know without seeing your swing exactly what the issue is, but those are several things that could be going on there. The easiest thing to do would be just to feel like you're holding the face open a little bit. Try to hit some shots out to the right. That's not going to fix, the root cause, the thing that's making it difficult for you to make it happen, but it's going to help you with your awareness of the club face, and it's going to fix that initially. And then once you actually get to where, okay, I'm hitting everything a little bit too far to the right, again, you're going to want to ease off that feeling a little bit, adjust that to get more of a straight shot or the desired ball flight that you want. But like I said, it's hard for me to know exactly what's going on there. I described several things that are very, very different from each other that can cause that club face to come in too close. But in order for me to know that for sure, I would need to see your swing. So we do offer an unlimited swing review program. I believe I do have some spots available right now, like 3 or 4 spots. A lot of snowbirds traveling right now, so I had a few people cancel. So I had some spots opening up. So if you want to take advantage of the spots being opened up, they probably won't be open for too long. So take advantage, and if you want me to take a look at your swing and pinpoint exactly what can help you to square up that face better, sign up for those swing reviews, and we'll get started and taking a look at that. If you're interested, just go to at the top of the screen, you can see get a review. If you click on that, Robin, I believe, might have some spots available as well. He actually just had his first child, so I'm not sure if he's got any spots open right now. He may have shut down his spots for now, not taking on any more students. That might be the case since he welcomed his daughter into the world. So, but yeah, I believe I have some spots available. So take a look at that if you're interested, and we can start working on that. Ed S. says, can you describe wrist forearm positions after straight line release? So after straight line release, basically, so let's go over for the people that may not know what the straight line release is. So the straight line release is basically where the club is splitting the forearms out in front of impact. So if you watch here, I'm coming into impact. There I am, forward shaft lean, body's opening up, compression line, everything looks good. I've got a square club face, and then there's where I'm releasing the club. So you can see the club here is splitting my forearms, and you want that to happen about 45 degrees out in front. Tour average is about 40, 41. We measured all the major winners from the last 20 years and measured the straight line release on all of them. The average was 40, 41. We had some people that were like 30, and we had some people that were 50. The average came out to be about 40, 41. We say 45 on the website. The main reason is, because that's what it looks like with most tour players. It looks like it's about 45 degrees. Clay came up with the system before we went and measured what exactly all the players were. But 45, the reason why we say that is really because it's an easy angle to quantify and understand. I think everyone knows what a 90-degree angle is, and half of that is 45. So it's easy to think, okay, that's just like a 90-degree triangle that I'm trying to create there. So I think most people know what a 45-degree angle is, but ideally that's where you're going to be releasing the club. So after impact, so at the straight line release, your forearms, everything's extended out. Your wrists are turn down, and turn that thumb down position. Your wrists are also pretty flat. They're all like that. So this is basically how the club is in the straight line release position if we're looking at it from this angle. And then what happens after that is the arms and everything, they keep going, and the left wrist can start to break down. So your lead wrist, it can start to bend back like this as the club overtakes. So everything, all the angles are gone here, and then the club kind of overtakes like that. Now, it may not be happening like that soon, and it's not important how soon it's happening, but basically the trail wrist will start going like that. It will still be in mostly thumb down position and like that. And then the lead wrist will start to go like that and turn over. And then as you get up to the top here, your lead arm will start to fold a little bit as you're coming through, and your trail arm will go straight. And then as it gets in front of your body, it will start to fold down as well. So the key here, everyone has a little bit different of a follow through. The main thing is getting to that straight line release position. Want to be nice and fully extended. You're letting all the angles go. And then after that, everything can kind of break down and you can get into that full finish position there. So that's really the main thing there as you're coming through. If you're having trouble doing that, it's going to have to do with mostly the body, because you're not rotating everything open as you're coming through. As you come through contact, your hips should be pointed at the target, or even a little bit left of the target if you can. Your chest should be pointed left of the target or as far behind you as you can. And your shoulders should be pointed, basically behind you as you can if you're kind of a flexible player. Now, not everyone is going to be able to get into that position, but, just do the best that you can. So that's why because everyone has a little different ranges of motion, everyone's going to get to a little different position after everything comes through. But this position right here, this straight line release, all good players, regardless of whether they're really flexible or not, they're in that position about 45 degrees out in front. Like I said, that's give or take 10 degrees is a good place to be. 40, basically anywhere from 30 to 50 degrees is doing pretty good. And again, you want to measure that from the camera view face on. You can see where that club is splitting the forearms. Draw that line up to your chest, and then draw a vertical line going down with the V1 app, and it'll create an angle there, and it will tell you how many degrees that is. So that's what you want to be looking at there for the straight line release. So Ed, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, if you're having trouble getting to that position, it's most likely because you're not coming all the way through into a full finish. All right, let me get a drink real quick. All right, so Alan B says, is there anything specific that I should be doing with my hands to accelerate the club face through the ball during the straight line release? I don't seem to get any real ball speed, approximately 100 miles per hour with a 5-iron. Well, first of all, 100 miles per hour with a 5-iron. Oh, so that he's talking about ball speed. Okay. So I thought he was thinking club head speed. It's like 100 miles per hour with a 5-iron. That's pretty darn good. But ball speed, yeah, you probably want, a little bit more than that. Essentially, the biggest thing that gives you speed is going to be your shoulder turn. So that's what you're going to want to look at first. That is the number one thing. So I'd be looking at trying to max that out first, because that's what's going to allow your hands and your shoulders, your hands and your arms to accelerate more as you're coming through impact. But mainly with the hands, what you're doing, what you should be feeling like is with your lead hand. Sorry for the lefties. I'm a right-hander, so a lot of times I say right and left. I do my best to say lead and trail. I usually catch myself after I say it. But lead hand, all right? So lead hand, you're wanting to put some pressure into the grip there. And I want you to feel like you're ripping that grip off the club as you're coming through. You're really ripping that off there. That's the feeling that you want to have. And with the right hand, you want to feel relatively light pressure. Obviously, you're going to be putting some pressure into it, but you want to feel most of that pressure in the lead hand, and that you're really ripping that grip off the club as you're coming through there. So give that a try when you're working on it next time. Try to feel these first 3 fingers here. So pinky, ring, and middle finger. Try to feel like you're putting a lot of pressure, putting a lot of force into the handle with those fingers, and feel like you're really trying to rip that club or rip that grip off the club as you're coming through impact, and see if that helps. But really the number one thing, like I was saying, is I look at your shoulder turn. I look at that first, because that's going to lead to making this a lot easier. Look at that shoulder turn. It is the number one thing. I'm telling you, we've done, I don't know how many clinics we've done now, distance clinics, quite a few, probably a dozen of them now. And the number one increase that people make is right in the beginning. We work on 2 things, essentially. Number one, swinging hard. You can't get more club head speed swinging nice and easy. You got to swing hard. And I think that people, because they're so worried about consistency and mishitting the ball and things like that, they try to swing very, very nice and easy and good tempo and things like that. You got to swing hard. If you want to hit the ball hard, you got to swing hard. Tour players, they're not swinging nice and easy with their driver or with their irons and stuff. They're getting after it. They're trying to hit it hard. Now it may look like they're swinging nice and easy because they have good sequencing and things like that. And that sequencing will naturally get better if you try to swing hard. So let's, first of all, try to swing hard. That's the number one. That's one of the number one things. And the other one is just maximizing that range of motion. So getting a big hip turn, getting a big shoulder turn. Average shoulder turn on tour is 118 degrees. Average club head speed on tour with the driver is 113 miles per hour. So if you are getting, if you're just getting like a little 90-degree shoulder turn, and you're wondering why you can't get 100, you can't crack 100 miles per hour club head speed, you got to get those shoulders moving more. So look at the hips. Average hip turn on tour, you're looking at 49 degrees. And you're looking at in the thoracic spine, the separation of the hips and the shoulders. You're looking at another 49, 50 degrees on average. And then the rest of the shoulder turn comes from the protraction and the retraction of the shoulders. So protraction being shoulder blade moving away from the spine, retraction, shoulder blade moving toward the spine. So in the backswing, your trail shoulder here is retracting, and this shoulder here is protracting. So that's making me go a little bit forward. So if I'm not going to move my chest at all, and if I protract my lead shoulder, protract and then retract, see, I've got about 20 degrees of rotation there in my shoulders, and I haven't rotated my hips or my spine. So you gotta max that out and that's how you get a lot of speed there. So I'd be looking at that first and foremost. Swing hard, get a big shoulder turn, maximize that range of motion, and that's where you'll really start seeing the big dividends in the speed, and that will be very beneficial for you. All right, so Richard F. says he was referring to Tour Striker training ball. I don't know anything about. I'm familiar with I've never used a Tour Striker, but I'm familiar with what it is. It's basically a club that has a ton of bounce on it that forces you to lean that shaft forward. So basically, imagine this club with a ton of bounce on it. So in order to hit that, to have any chance of hitting a ball, so this is how it normally would be. Now, if this club had a bunch of bounce on it, it would be like that. So imagine me trying to hit a ball. It was going to hit the leading edge, and it's not going to go very far. So what I have to do is I have to lean that shaft way forward so that I can get that club on the golf ball. So it kind of forces you to do that. It's feedback. It gives you feedback on whether you're doing it or not, and then, which is good because it's after the fact. You have to force yourself to do something in order to make that happen. So I think the Tour Striker is a pretty good training aid. The problem is that what happens when you put the Tour Striker down? Now you have to do it with the real golf club. So you got to be able to translate what you're doing with the Tour Striker to the to when you actually have another club in your hands. And for some people, that's very, very difficult. So as far as a ball is concerned, I'm not familiar with any. I really don't keep up with training aids too much. The reason is that most of them are garbage, so I really don't pay attention to it that much. The best training aids, I will tell you right now, the best training aids are the ones that give you that you have to actually perform the action with a real club. The clubs that you play, you have to perform the action with a real club, and then it gives you feedback afterwards. And then you have to adjust what you're doing with the actual club to make that better. So those training aids would be a swing speed radar, right? If you're working on club head speed, that would be the number one thing that I would recommend buying. Because if you don't know if what you're doing is giving you more club head speed, then it's really hard to know if you're improving or not. So something like Swing Speed Radar or Swing Caddy 2, if you have the means to buy a TrackMan, a Flight Scope, GC Quad, something like that. Those are also, not only are those going to give you club head speed, they're going to give you a lot of club data too. And if you're working on one of those things specifically, or the ball data, if you're working on that specifically, it's going to give you some feedback on that, and then you're going to have to make the adjustment to make that better. If you actually have to physically learn and figure out how to do it, your retention and your actual likelihood of making that change is much higher. If you actually have something that's forcing you to get into the position and you're not really learning with your body how to do it, then it's not as good. So I see a lot of training aids that kind of basically put you in certain positions. Like there's one, I think it goes on the grip, and it like has an arm that comes out, and it puts you, I think it's like power package or something like that. Well, that's good. It kind of tells you where the position should be, and that helps you kind of understand where it should be, or where's a good position anyway. But when you take that away, you have to be able to do that on your own. So training aids that basically make you figure it out on your own and allows you to make mistakes and then correct mistakes so you can feel the difference. Those are the best ones. So something, the camera is also another one. And these are the best ones because partially because they're not expensive. A lot of training aids are very, very expensive. I think a lot of the point of why people create training aids is to make money, because people, they know that golfers are looking for the answer, and they're looking for help, and training aids are things that help. That's why there's so many of them, is because people are basically trying to make a buck off of people that are looking for help. So essentially, the camera doesn't lie. If you're trying to shallow out the club, the camera is going to be the number one training aid for you, because you're going to be able to look at your swing and see, oh, hey, I'm coming down steep, I need to do this more. And then you'll actually exaggerate it, and you'll say, okay, well, I'm doing it too much, now I can do this. You're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. Make the mistake, learn from the mistake, fix it, and try to fix it. You might even make the mistake over and over, but if you're trying to fix it, and you're going to end up learning from it and getting better from it. So it's a process. You just have to enjoy it as you're coming through there. So like I said, I'm not familiar with the Tour Striker training ball. I think the original Tour Striker, I think that's a pretty good training aid, because it's, it forces you to get in that position. It's giving you the information after the fact, whether you did it or not. You have to perform the action. But it can also kind of force you to come down steep on the golf ball to make that happen. There's ways you can kind of cheat it and not necessarily do what you want to do in the golf swing. Robert B says, does one's weight stay over the ball or arch of the feet throughout the swing, or is it better to have the weight in the heels to start of the backswing and finish the swing and finish? So basically, Robert B is asking, where is the weight in the feet throughout the swing? So at address, it's pretty much going to be in the arches of the feet. It's going to be pretty balanced. Some people are a little bit more in their toes, and that's completely fine. Some people are a little bit more in their heels, but for the most part, on average, it's basically going to be mostly in the arches of the feet, in the middle of the feet, pretty balanced. So in the beginning of the swing, as you're starting the swing, usually you see a little bit of pressure light up in the ball of your lead foot. And that's just because you're kind of pushing away to start the downswing. And then that pressure, it goes to the heel over here. So the pressure starts to build up to the heel right here. And then as you're shifting your weight this way, then it goes to the balls of your feet up here is what you see with most tour players. And then as you're rotating, it's going to the heel. It's going back to the heel. As you're coming into impact, it's going into my heel right now. And then as I'm coming all the way through, it's all the way in my heel. So it's moving around throughout the swing with tour players. So just to go over that again, at address, it's pretty balanced. As you're starting the swing, you'll see just a little bit of light up in the ball of the feet typically. And then that will start going to the heel of my foot over here. So as I'm pushing back and I'm rotating back, that's going to the heel of my foot over here. And then in the downswing, as you start the downswing, you're getting your weight shift and momentum, the pressure shift to your lead side. That pressure is usually going to that front foot a little bit. Some people, it goes kind of to the middle of the foot. Some people kind of to the balls of the feet. And then as I'm coming down in the downswing, as I'm coming down about halfway down, usually that's going to the heel of my foot. That pressure is lighting up in the heel of my foot as I'm coming all the way through into impact and into the full finish. So that's basically what's happening in the swing there. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what swing catalyst is, but basically swing catalyst is it's a mat that has tons of sensors in it that will measure the pressure that you're putting into it with your feet. So you can go to their website, and they actually have some free education on their website where you can see kind of what's going on. It's very, very cool. It's completely free. I think it's, 7 presentations or something like that. It's a good afternoon of learning if you want to go learn about the pressure, if you're kind of a golf nerd and want to learn about that stuff. So I would check it out. You can kind of see exactly what's going on. But they measured a ton of tour players, and they can kind of show you what the averages and things that they've seen. And I think you're going to see basically something like what I just mentioned there was it's going to the ball and then the heel. But sometimes it kind of goes to the arch and then the heel. Inevitably, it ends up in the heel. All the pressure ends up in the heel and the lead heel as you're coming around into the full finish. So check that out, and I think you'll be able to learn some stuff for sure. All right, so Janice K says, how can I take my practice game to competition? So this is a fairly common question. A lot of people have trouble. They hit the ball great on the driving range, and then they go out on the golf course and they play terrible. Well, the reason is that when you're on the driving range, you're hitting, usually people hit the same club over and over and over. They try to hit every shot dead straight, and it's easy to kind of get in a groove and to hit that same shot over and over and over again. But that's not what's happening on the golf course, right? What's happening on the golf course is you're hitting your driver. Then you're hitting a shot from the rough, and maybe it's a wedge. And then you're hitting, maybe you're chipping. Well, you're switching around. Different things are happening. So the best way to translate that is to do an exercise out on the range that's more like what you're doing on the golf course. So what I would recommend, go out there and whatever you're working on, whether it's technique or things like that, maybe you're just preparing for a tournament and you're happy with your technique and how you're hitting the ball. You're just having trouble translating that to the golf course. Play the golf course on the driving range. So visualize, if you're preparing for a tournament, hopefully you know the course pretty well. And just imagine, okay, I'm on the first hole. It's a 400-yard par 4. I'm going to hit my driver. So you start out, you go through your routine, hit your driver. It's like, I hit it right down the middle of the fairway. Okay, next, maybe I have a 120-yard wedge shot. Now I'm going to hit a wedge, and I hit a good one. I'm on the green. Good part about this game is that you make all the putts, so you shoot really, really low. Hit all the shots just like you would, or you can kind of do it in another way where you're playing the hole, and let's say you slice the first one way out of bounds. Do it over again. Go until you get it exactly the way that you want it, and then play the next shot. Hit it until you get it exactly the way that you want it, and then hit the next shot. You want to be switching clubs every single time, switching your mindset every single time to kind of make that more like what's going on in the golf course. Because if you're just on the range hitting shot after shot after shot with the same club and hitting the same shot shape, try to hit different shot shapes when you're out there as well. Don't try to hit everything straight. Hit draws, hit fades, hit high, hit low. hit a hot, if you're a more advanced player, you can basically hit the 9 different shots, right? The high fade, the low fade, the normal trajectory for fade. Hit all the shots, and that will help you to translate what's going on the golf course. So it's 10 o'clock right now, Eastern time. So we'll wrap it up right there. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I see that there's several more questions in here. Just don't have time today to answer the rest of them. So sorry that I didn't get to everybody, but I did the best that I could. We'll be back here Monday, 3 p.m. in the afternoon. If you want to bring your questions then, as always, Unlimited Swing Reviews, if you sign up for that, you can get your questions answered anytime. Just shoot me over an email, and we can get started with that. But hopefully you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all Monday. Thanks for joining me.